God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thanks for those in attendance and those who joined us via the cable. We're a little bit late getting started here because we've had an executive session tonight. So we'll move on. Any announcements from anyone?
You're gonna say something about the passings?
I was not, but if you'd like to, go ahead.
Oh, okay. On behalf of the board, I'd like to extend our condolences to the family of Tony Cognato, who recently just passed away, resident of South Waterboro, a familiar face around Tony's sub shop. Often you'd see him sitting out either polishing his blue Harley, and he'd always wave at people coming by or stopped at the stoplight there. So our condolences go out to him and his family. Also condolences to the Hanson family, Mark and Bruce. Their father, Harold, better known as Szwed, passed away. Another long-time Waterboro resident. There's a young lady that passed, Lacey Richard. We're going to extend our condolences to her family as well. And we certainly hope that we don't have any more, although there's a cycle of life here. Yes?
Peter Nasostopoulos also passed away Sunday up in North Waterboro. Longtime residents and great contributor to the town in various ways.
I didn't hear that one. Anything else from the board?
One thing I'd like to mention is people need to be aware, especially during the holiday seasons when people are sometimes, searching for money to buy gifts and so forth, and the economic crunch plays an important part. There's a scam going around. It's similar to what was an internet scam. It was called the Nigerian thing, but this one's called the Jamaican sweepstakes. And unlike the Nigerian scam, it's not, you don't get notified by some email from someone claiming to be the holder of millions of dollars. You get an actual telephone call from someone saying that you've won the lottery, but the only way that you can obtain the proceeds is to pay the tax and so forth that the country has imposed on that. And this is there's actually somebody from Limerick right now that's a victim of that, and it's fairly prevalent. And oddly enough, it was a training that was done by American companies that had a hand in perpetuating this, because they outsourced a lot of the call centers to Jamaica, and they trained people down there on making telemarketing calls and so forth. So they know the questions to ask. They're very skilled in getting information and flipping that information around so that they're extremely believable. So you certainly want to be extra cautious. They'll tell you that your name was entered into this lottery because you used your credit card somewhere, and these companies put your name in, and you're the lucky winner. Well, all you are basically is the unlucky sap if you fall into that trap. So, just a word of caution with having that.
Okay. One quick note. The wreaths across America. I think people have heard about this. The travel from up on the coast there with all the wreaths that make their way down to Arlington. On December 15th, the South Buxton Cemetery Association will once again be hosting the Wreaths Across America program. It's a non-profit organization that honors veterans every year across the country in wreath-laying ceremonies. Organization's mission is to remember those veterans who have fallen, honor those who serve, and teach children the value of freedom behalf of the Board of Directors of the South Buxton Cemetery, invite you to attend this event in honor of the veterans and military personnel at home and dispersed across the globe. It is Saturday the 15th at 11:45 a.m. and it's at the South Buxton Cemetery, which is on Route 112 in Buxton near the cemetery office. So if you want more information on that, I'm sure that we can put this up on the web if anybody's interested. Anything else? All right, let's move into, we have an appointment at 6:30, but we'll, with the town auditor, so we'll jump into some other stuff here and then drop back when Ron shows up. Hearing a delegation? Nothing, Dwayne? Correspondence, treasurer's weekly reports are in there, information from DigSafe, Ecomaine November 2012 newsletter, information on the American Diabetes Association Tour de Cure route through Waterboro on Sunday, June 9th, 2013. Notice from the Animal Welfare Society, Inc., reason being Animal Welfare Society, Inc., and report on personal property tax collections with Susan Szwed, who is the attorney that we have been using in that arena. Not sure if we can grab Jerry, but we probably can probably jump right into his report. The report from Susan Gordon, does that meet your information that you needed? I know you wanted Jerry to talk about it, but I think that...
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of get a follow-up rather than just leave it hanging.
Yep.
So I haven't had a chance
Well,
really to...
he's got a couple of abatements here, so it's as good a time as any to ask.
He's on his way in now.
Yep. Jerry?
Appreciate the decorations.
Well, we can't take credit for it. I guess we have to thank Pete. So.
Well, I appreciate you making time. What we're talking about tonight would be the report from Susan Szwed. Actually, it's my report based on Susan Szwed's collection agency progress. I don't know, do you want me to go through all of these? What we have is basically, you can see the results of the 1, 2, 3, 4. We started out with, I don't know, I think we had a list of probably at least a dozen, and then we whittled them down because they were more than 6 years. The amounts weren't what we wanted to focus on, and then the results of that were that some were summoned to court, some didn't answer. There was really just 2 on here that made payments. That would be the Laytons and Turgeons. And other than that, that is the result of the process. And the court costs were $858.59, as you see. Town settlement was $8,659.89, and the attorney settlement, that's Susan Szwed for the collection process, $2,650. And at this time, I'd almost think that our contract is void, or at least past the time limit. And I personally don't see any reason to continue with the process. I think this is about all we're going to gain.
So it costs us $3,400 to collect $8,600 basically.
Right. Our sites were a lot higher, but I don't think at least I didn't understand the process.
Yeah. We brought in $12,000 in back taxes basically, but it cost us some revenue to do
I think it shows the town can, if it wants to, attempt to collect personal property tax, which for a lot of municipalities is something that is difficult to do.
Any questions or comments? We all set with that? All right, you got a couple of other actions here, Jerry?
Yes, there's an abatement there, number 1324. What we're asking for here is a simple case of why is my lot higher than all the neighbors around me, and looking at it from the map that's attached, I didn't have an answer. And when I looked into it deeper, I found out that there was that particular lot was not treated the same as the others because of a percentage in the system that deals with lot frontages. Once you apply the same percentage to this lot as the others around him, you find that he matches a lot better, and that's why you'll see I actually put the values of those lots on that Lake Sherburne property. So we're only making a correction to make it fit a lot better with the similar lots. So the abatement request is $98.56 for 2013, $92.40 for 2012. He did ask for both on his application.
What's your pleasure, folks?
Make a motion to approve the Assessors Agent recommendation.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Next one is a recommendation to decline, I believe.
Yes, it's a letter. The letter didn't follow me. Go from there.
We've got the letter.
Okay.
Do you need a copy?
No, I think I'm fine.
This is the property located on 35 Bernier Lane.
Yes. There was the question of the appraisal, mortgage appraisal. And then as you look at the assessed values and use the comparison of the assessed values, which we know is the line, if you will, that we've set up in the revaluation, he was fairly well, reasonably assessed in that regard. Therefore, I had made a recommendation to deny that abatement.
Okay, it's a pleasure of the board.
I move we accept the recommendations of the assessor.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Short, sweet, thank you. I would presume the treasurer is not coming in to give a report? Okay. I see Steve is here from the Finance Committee. Are you speaking for the Finance Committee, or just happen to be here?
Well, no, I came here in case someone was needed to speak to
Okay.
the finance committee. I know Tina won't be here.
We have, Ron should be here within the next 15 minutes, so we'll go over the draft audit report. So, if anything else that you'd want to report, Steve? I know you guys try to get together once a month. That's sometimes successful, sometimes not, but
Well, yeah, let me come up and
okay.
I'll say a little bit, because the board or whoever's gonna be here after next July is gonna have to figure out how to, keep tabs of things the way that we're doing, and probably you do anyway, but I do think sometimes we pick things up and ask questions that, we get answers that make sense, but once in a while something gets by. There was the heck was it, an interest payment, a bond question, and it was found out that something hadn't been posted rate half a year ago or so. The most useful thing that the committee has when we get these expense and revenue summary reports, and what we always go right to, is the percentage column that shows how much of a particular item's revenue or expense has been accumulated. And if we're halfway through the year and something is 100%, then that, we look at that, and sometimes we can figure it out, it's obvious, but sometimes it isn't. And after each meeting, we submit to Nancy some questions and we get answers. The thing that really stuck out this last time was on the planning department. And this is just by way of example. Under unclassified, it showed there was a budget of, under expenses, it showed a budget of $500 unclassified, and the budget listed was $17,862.10. Well, that raised the question. And the answer is that that's the expense on the drainage project on Old Alfred Road, which will be reimbursed by the state eventually, but the planner put it there so that it wouldn't get lost, which I guess is a good thing. Question that I asked, it showed income for the tower property of $6,000, and the expense of the plan was $4,000. So I raised that question, and I believe I understand Nancy's answer was the money comes in from Mariner. 80% eventually goes to the land trust, but apparently it all has to be accounted for until the town sends that 80% to the land trust, and so that's why that was higher. So by and large, we felt that things are in good shape. So we really didn't have any problems. We get answers to our questions, and I guess I'm looking forward to how the Board of Selectmen is going to handle this under the new charter. And that's what I have for comments.
Okay. Well, as you know, that new charter will take effect on July 1st, so this current budgeting season will continue to go as we have in the past. So.
Yeah, which we're prepared for, and I note that I haven't met the gentleman yet, but we now have another member of the Finance Committee.
That's correct.
So that will help.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Okay, moving along here. Selectmen's reports. Who wants to start? Anybody? Anything down at that end? Huh?
Tammy has a lot to say. Let her
Okay.
go.
Had a meeting last Wednesday night of the York County Budget Committee. We went over 4 different accounts, picked those apart. The county manager explained different aspects of it, and so we continue to move on with the budget. But following budget discussions, we had conversations about the plan that came out of Kennebunk for user fees as opposed to assessments from the county. John Sylvester had a meeting with Barry last week, and Barry assured him that this did not come out of the managers group. It was generated from a conversation that was held by the Kennebunk Board of Selectmen and the town manager, and that's what generated him putting together the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet has changed again, and the end result of the conversation between John and Barry was that you can't look at just rural patrol and be fair to all of the communities. That if you're going to look at going to some kind of a user fee, then you have to look at county government as a whole. This was done in 2005, so that 2005 report's been dusted off and it's been sent out. And what was agreed upon is that they would create a work group that's going to bring people from all of the entities together to have a discussion and make sure that this is looked at in its entirety, that it's looked at to be fair and equitable to all of the communities. They identified that the folks that need to participate in this conversation include the county commissioners, includes representatives from what they call the COP towns and the no COP towns, representatives from large cities and the small communities as well. So they'll be putting that group together hopefully by the first of the year. I would like to volunteer to be a part of that group, depending on what their meeting schedule is going to be. I mean, if it's something that they're meeting during the day, then that's going to prohibit me from participating because I do work full time. But if it's going to be something that's late afternoon or evenings, I would like to participate representing the town of Waterboro. I think it is going to be critical that we have a strong voice on this committee. So we have that in works.
Now, in that group, is the county jail personnel involved? I mean, I think they must have the records on who's being used.
Right. I think that's going to have to be part of that conversation.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're not, when they looked at it, all that Kennybunk did, all the Barry did was say, all right, no COP towns, you're going to absorb 100% of the cost of rural patrol without any consideration as to other communities that are using that service. The sheriff did at one point provide some kind of a report that showed that there was about 20% of rural patrol services were being utilized by COP towns. So that has to be brought in.
And what about the cost to, say, the courthouse, the county attorney and stuff like
That's
that?
all going to have to be looked at.
Okay.
I mean, there are some costs that are going to have to be shared.
Yeah.
But if you want to start, pulling and looking at a user-based system, you have to look at it countywide, all services. So the consensus of the budget committee was this is a conversation that should continue. It's probably going to take a couple of years to really look at this, participate in it, and come up with, looking at this plan and is it fair? And it has to be done in a way that it's not dividing the county and pitting the cities and the towns against each other, but something that's going to be cohesive so that everybody gets a fair shake out of it. So we've got that going on. The other thing is that last year there was a group formed that is called the York County, it's the Maine Mayors Organization. There's 10 mayors in York County that formed this group, and they've been meeting on a monthly basis. This mayors group has put together a list of issues that they feel should go before the legislative policy committee to address some legislation. And areas that they targeted included general assistance, education, municipal revenue sharing, human services, school construction, bond packages, transportation, downtown improvements, research development, water, wastewater, and economic development access to capital, as well as property taxes. They're having a meeting next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. They've invited all of the members of the York County, the mayor's group. They've invited the members of the York County Budget Committee, and I don't see where they've included administrators or managers from other communities. But again, it's something that I think it's important that we really start paying attention to what's going on outside of our community and getting involved in these types of advocacy groups. The York County Advocacy Group does meet in Augusta, I believe, on a monthly basis, kind of at lunchtime in between legislative sessions. It's something I would like to make sure that the town administrator is aware of and participating in. It seems that that group really has started having a strong voice with the legislative committees. So it's something that we need to pay attention to and we need to be involved in. Unfortunately, this meeting is on a Tuesday night, so it interferes with our selectmen's meeting. So I kind of wanted to get a feel from the board on if this is something that you think it would be beneficial to for one of us to not come here next week and go to that meeting instead.
Well, this is a mayor's group. Is it open to other municipality officials?
They've sent it out to this mayor's group and they've sent it out to the budget committee members. They haven't sent it out to all of the managers and whatnot. But it's got to be a public meeting. I mean, under state statute, this would be the type of a meeting that would be a public meeting.
Now, do these towns that have mayors have town managers also? I assume they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can't conduct business. They're not conducting municipal business. It's a association, basically, right?
Yeah.
Well, the mayor to me is just a symbolic.
I mean, I think in most cases, some of them have more authority than others, but depending on the city charter, but.
Some of them are voting members, some of them are more like the
I
tiebreakers.
would sooner think that we should make sure that the York County delegation or advocacy group in Augusta, which includes Mr. Libby, is well aware of some of the goings-on of at least some group in York County, because and I think John's letter was very clear, and I think if you do go back to state law, the county can't go to a different revenue basis. It's against state law, and it's very specific that no county can do that. So they've got a lot of hurdles to step over before they get to that, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be at least apprised of what's going on. So,
I think one of the committee members said, so this group can meet, they can talk, they can come up with some kind of a formula, but then at the end of the day, they could decide that the legislators could decide they're not going to change the law and it doesn't matter. And it's like basically that's true, but still I think we need to be aware of what's happening, because if we just let the larger communities go up and speak and they don't hear from some of these smaller communities, it's possible the legislation could pass if there's nobody opposing it.
yeah,
But if you're going
that's-
to let Representative Libby know, you should also let John Tell know.
right.
And I would think, is that something Christina can do, or what? I mean, does she need more information? It seems kind of vague.
Well, I think we at least need to maybe notify both of them to make sure that they're aware that there is this undercurrent of town managers in York County scheming to come up with a different appropriation process.
Well, you're
Just
talking about
make
the mayors also? I think
Well-
Tammy is.
Yeah, it's two separate issues. You've got the group that's going to be looking at a user-based tax collection in York County, and then you have this mayor's group who's looking at legislation changes and putting bills before the legislators this year that could impact everybody within the county, not just the large communities. So I think there's two different things going on here that we need to be paying attention to.
Well, that's one of the, I think that's one of the charters of the 12-town group, right? I mean, that was, and this goes back, I think, way back, Doug, right? I think 10 years ago, 11 years ago when this all started with used to be a 6 or 7-town group, right? Now it's grown, but the fact of the matter is that it was at least a forum where some of these issues could get brought up, and so I would think that, we should, if anything else, and I think John is certainly as the chair of that group taking the lead, that we need to at least keep that group gamefully engaged, right?
And they are.
So,
They are.
Doug, you had a comment?
Well, Candy was talking about Barry's letter and this rural sheriff's doing the rural patrol.
Yeah.
I was involved in that some as selectman when the
report was done in 2005, and everything, you know, the big towns were all complaining about rural patrol and what it was costing. But when we got down to the cost of running the jail, for one, everybody just went in a different direction, because if you go into the records, I assume they're still the same, but in the early 2000s, the cost of running York County Jail, the number of residents there that came from Biddeford, Saco, Sanford, Kennebunkport, the bigger communities, way outnumbered the number of citizens that were there in the rural patrol areas. So when they started talking about going on a pay per person per town basis, Biddeford and Saco and them wanted nothing to do with it. So when you're in these meetings, you want to remember that you know, that is a huge cost to run that institution over there. And when you start breaking it down by community, you find that the big cities will start to tread water. And that's what we found. That's why this report died in 2005, because it was all gung-ho. And all of a sudden they realized that, you know, if they had to pay $25 or $50 per day per person, and the small communities had to pay for the rural patrol, they were going to pay a lot of money. And there was, I was thinking it was 25% of the cost of rural patrol should have been absorbed by the bigger communities who have police departments. But you said it was 20%.
Yeah.
This is all from memory, but the stumbling point came quickly between the running of the administrative office in Alfred and the jail.
Yeah, one of the original proposals and emails that floated out from Barry was, it was too difficult to figure out how you would fairly divide the jail cost. Do you charge the community that arrested the individual? Do you charge the community where the offense took place? Do you charge the community where the person lives? Well, who did the investigation? I mean, if wherever the offense occurred and the agency that arrested, that should be the person that incurs the cost. You know, you wouldn't want to see Biddeford arresting 25 people that happen to live in Waterboro and that cost getting passed along to Waterboro, because, you know, somebody can say, oh, I live in Sanford, in all actuality they live in Portland or wherever else. So I think that's all things that have to get flushed out when they develop this work group and start having those conversations.
Yeah, that was a residency, because you had people over there that got arrested in Biddeford who didn't even live in the state.
Yeah.
And so who was going to pay, the town they came from in Massachusetts or New York or Chicago wasn't going to pay the bill. So
Right.
that jail is something that you want to keep your eye on, because that is a huge part of this. Was you involved in that, Gordon?
No, in a minor extent. The other thing with the jail is you're going to have to, at some level, bring the state into this, because the state houses a significant number of inmates over there, and they pay on a different pay rate, because the state basically dictates, they tell what they will pay versus, you know, what the actual expense is. So that's going to have to come into play, as well as the activities of the state police and the arrests that they make and the services that they utilize within the county government structure. And I think that, as Dennis said, there's going to be a lot of hurdles here, and a lot of them are going to have to take place in Augusta at the legislative level. They're going to have to change laws in order to get this move in this direction. Frankly, I just think that there's just too many obstacles.
Well, it doesn't mean that it's not going to stop a certain group of people from always keeping you know.
Well, I think it's always good to explore options if they appear to be reasonable options, but.
Well, they're reasonable for certain.
Well, you know, in this one, as all this goes down,
people will always talk about fairness, but when it comes down, it's what's the cheapest way for us to be a member of the county.
Yep.
And that's the way you'll vote.
Yep.
And that's, so,
If there's a
fairness
municipality that
goes
can
out the
pass
window.
off cost to another municipality, they're gonna do
They're
it.
gonna- So we've got that work group, and as more information comes out about that being formed and whatnot, I'll keep everybody up to date. And then the other issue is the mayor's organization that is meeting next Tuesday night, if somehow we want to participate in that.
Hey Dennis, you wanna be
Yes.
mayor?
Is someone,
You go to
is
the-
someone from the 12-town group gonna go to that meeting?
I don't know.
I would default to, as long as there's a representative from that 12-town group there, I think that would cover our interest at this point. 11, whatever it is now, 11. Is Sanford still a player in the 12-town group, or they?
They're a member. They haven't been to the past couple of meetings. And the 12-town group meeting, the 12-town group does typically not meet in December, but John called a meeting and said we're still going to meet in December because there's just so many issues going on. It's important that everybody get in touch.
Do you know what that date is, Tammy?
For the,
December
The-
meeting? It's the third meeting.
it's next, the 17th for the 12-town group. At 6:30.
Anything else, Tim?
That's it.
All right. Jump back into the agenda here.
I'd like to just thank Tammy for all the work she's done and has done.
Yeah.
And I don't think people, the public out there realize all the time, I mean, it would be a sweet job if we just came here on Tuesday nights and left. But each one of us are on several different committees and spend an awful lot of time. And it's sometimes just spinning the wheels, but sometimes we make quite a difference. So I thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, David.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
All right. Were you advocating that she handle all of the extra meetings, or just?
No.
That'd be okay with me.
You still have time to bake cookies for the,
Yeah, right.
Doug, did you have anything, or I'm gonna go through Nancy's report, but, and I think half of this is you.
Yeah, I just had a couple small things,
Yeah,
that's all.
well, if you wanna report them, then why don't you do that, and
Well,
if they're on here, I'll scratch them off.
I've had a bus issue that's come up, and the people have indicated that they would like to have crosswalks installed on 202. And I think it's concerning to me because I don't know how we can establish crosswalks at private residences for children to cross to get on the bus. I think if we start doing that, we'd have more crosswalks than we could possibly bear. So
Is the issue that, so the children are having to cross to get on and off the
the
bus?
children are having to walk down 202 and cross to get on the bus.
So wouldn't that fall with the transportation department to make sure that they're providing a safe?
I emailed
Bus
these
stop?
people back. Christina must have followed. I don't know if you got the copy of the email. I don't know how to do. I can hit send on the thing and it goes back to whoever it was coming to.
I didn't get your reply.
But you know, I gave them the school board members, RSU 57 board members in Waterboro's listing of what's listed. Not all of their phone numbers are listed in our.
I also forwarded it to the superintendent.
But you know, I didn't think that this was an issue, and I've gotten 2 emails from these people, and now they want to know about crosswalks. So I think everybody's got to kind of think on this a little bit, you know, about what are we going to do if we start putting crosswalks for individuals to cross, not for community areas. Then I just don't know who's going to monitor these things. That's all.
Well, we denied one, what, last year?
We have a
Pause.
crosswalk ordinance in this town.
We do. And these people want a copy of that ordinance. Did you send that to them? They sent an email wanting a copy of that ordinance. So,
if they're planning on having it on 202, they're gonna have to contact the state, because I don't think a municipality has any authority establishing a crosswalk on a state highway.
I told them that that was a state highway and they needed to contact the state, but anyway, that's one issue. We've had, one other complaint on our rocks at the end of the road, that may be in Nancy's report up there on the end of, New Dam Road. I am going to have installed up there 250 feet of guardrail sometime this month, as soon as they can get to it, on the right-hand side after you make the turn. And that wasn't originally planned. I'm gonna take the money out of the town road account to do that. It's not planned, but I've had, some people put up what I considered was some legitimate discussion about it and some concerns. So, maybe I was short-sighted in not putting that in the original budget. But whatever it is, it's gonna have to be done. Your dam is completely done. When the gates are closed, the concrete inside dries right up, just as dry as this floor is right here. There's not even a drip of water. Was very happy to see that. And we do have a meeting on Thursday morning. If anybody'd like to attend, I'd like to have somebody from the Board of Selectmen there because we're gonna have to discuss at some point what's gonna happen down there with these pits. We've got this VRAP plan, and it looks like the DEP is gonna approve that, but now the building that was gonna wrap it didn't get funded, so, and it's gonna be an expensive project to do something else with those pits.
I might be able to get down, but I won't be able to stick around too long, so, but I can probably be there by 9.
Well, that's when the engineers come and DEP's
Yeah.
coming at 9:30, I think. Okay?
All right.
We took some ledge out up on the middle road to take care of the drainage up there, and things are, I guess, looking pretty good.
You didn't, I noticed when I went through Ospey Hill, what so-called extension or whatever, it's the dirt section, let's
Yeah.
put it that way. And it looks as though there'd been some blasting up there, or was rock hauled in there then that looked like it was?
No, that was the hill that we had the discussion about, and Dennis come back and said, looked like it was gonna be a lot of work. That, what you saw up there, we took the hammer up there and hammered that ledge off the sides of the middle road. And when we got done, I walked right up there and I put a day in with that hammer, and we took that hill down. The trees are gone, the hill's down, and it's gravel. It's not completed, and I was gonna wait until it was completed and then tell you to go take a look at it, but Andrew brought it up.
Well, I was just through there because I noticed that somebody had elected to have a portion of that as some trash site. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of old couch and there's tires down in there.
Oh, yeah, we got tires. Dennis mentioned that a little while ago. Tommy's checking with Clint to see if he'll allow us to haul that stuff in their mix, because to be truthful with you, I'm not gonna sort that out, and I'm not gonna ask anybody else to sort it out. There's tires, computers, there's everything. In my opinion, we ought to load it onto a truck, and if they don't want it here, we ought to take it right over to Simpson's and just pay him to get rid of it and let him sort it out. I just don't think, I'm not going through dirty diapers and whatever else happens to be there to clean it out. Just, it's not my bag, I'll be more than happy if you always wanna come down here and sort it out, which I don't think you do either, but there's tires.
Have
there's
that
couch.
discussion with Clint, and maybe they'll do it. I mean, certainly the TVs and stuff have to be pulled out of it, because that's all special waste, but the rest of it ought to be able to go right into the compactor.
Well, it can go into, a lot of it's shingles. We got shingles, big pile of shingles there. Then we got mattresses. Then we got garbage. We've got something dead down in there. I don't know just what that is, but the smell is by times horrendous. And
Well, it's gonna freeze up here pretty quick, so.
well, you mentioned that 2 or 3 weeks ago that you wanted us to clean up these spots around town.
Yeah, and,
so.
and just so and everybody knows, and there are a number of folks in the community that will stop and pick some of that stuff up and bring it in. Clint doesn't charge them for it. We certainly thank anybody that that puts that time and effort into it to spend some time and do that, but, you're right, it is more than just the casual, hey, somebody sees a few tires and they pick them up on the way down through a Bennett Hill Road or some other road and throw them in the back of the truck and bring them to the town transfer station, so. But at some point in time, it's, you know, it's gonna reach a point where it'll take several days to go clean it up, so.
It's a major thing to go out and pick up all this garbage. And that's what it is. And people say, oh, it's stuff that you have to pay for to get rid of at the transfer station. Not all of it is. Some of it is. We watched a guy come up the South Waterboro Road and go up West Road. He had a dump trailer on back of a pickup truck, and it was a tandem axle dump trailer. And I don't know where he went. We followed him up past the Blueberry Road, and I don't know just where he went with it. It looked like he went out of Waterboro with it in his truck, but we followed him just to see if he was going to dump it in town, you know. But we have found that, you know, in places where they just back up and dump and leave. So,
Okay.
anything you want to help?
No, thanks, Doug.
Mr. Chairman, weren't we discussing at one point having a so-called free day down at the transfer station? I can't remember if we established anything.
We talked about it last week. In fact, at the transfer station and recycling committee is going to make a proposal to have a spring and fall free day. Okay, so they'll bring that in. All right, town administrators report. Just so everybody knows, the auditor Ron is stuck in an executive session in Berwick, and the other fellow,
Chris?
I think it was named Chris, is held up because there's an accident over in Alfred or something like that. So he will be here probably before Ron. So we'll see how this transpires. But Nancy's report, winter sand pile is up. I guess you guys have reviewed the part-time applications for part-time employee and picked 6 that you're going to do interviews with. There's a report on the Thursday meeting in here. The budget deadline submittal is Friday for all requests. Tom has put together the CIP and he's working that at home. I guess he'll know just on his health, he'll know Friday or something whether or not they're gonna operate on his leg. So the CIP has been completed, still on schedule for December 11th to present to the Board of Selectmen. Paul Shane, for those of you that know Paul at the transfer station, fell at home yesterday and broke his leg in 6 places. Surgery is scheduled for Thursday. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Follow up with Tom. So we'll know Friday whether or not he's going to have surgery on his leg. Last Saturday, December 1st, the Alfred Waterboro Veterinarian Hospital held a free rabies clinic to celebrate 25 years of providing vet services in nearby communities. Donations were accepted. Owners of pets from 17 towns participated. Total of $891 was donated. 18 dogs, 22 cats residing in Waterboro were vaccinated, with pet owners donating a total of $284. And there's a letter of thanks here from Dr. Brewster. Pete is looking at the HIVAC, construction, electricity, and whatnot for the additional office that we've been talking about here. And he has some estimates. I think we ought to get all of that before we jump to what it's actually going to cost us. Chimney at the Taylor House damaged in the October earthquake, not this morning's earthquake, but the October earthquake, is being repaired. We have earthquake insurance, and the insurance took care of it. And Hannaford's this month, donations for Community Garden are being accepted into their donation kiosk. So, any questions with regard to that? I'm sure that you can give Nancy a call and get clarifications. Anything else on the reports? If not, we'll plow through the rest of this. item 1 on new business, we will move past, only because that's to do with the audit report. Second item is discuss vote the extending the snowplow contract as proposed by Daigle Inc. So, what is your any discussion? I think Nancy provided to everybody on the table here what the cost per mile has been since 2008, or at least through the last couple of contracts, and the proposal of where we are in 2013. Should we extend for another year, or 2014-15, should we extend at the request of the, or I guess we have, not sure whether was the request for the 2 years extension or at least one, right? So,
I think when he spoke to us, he put in for a 2-year extension.
pardon?
I think when he spoke to us last week, he was applying for a 2-year extension.
That would be in our minutes, wouldn't it?
So this contract ends,
This
in
contract
13.
ends the end of this fiscal year, current contract.
You know, looking
It was
to
a- it
extend
was-
it for 2 years.
It was a 3-year contract. It did have a provision that it could be extended for up to 2 additional years, but for no longer than a total length of 5 years. I'm not sure why it said that, but let's see. Yeah, in the minutes, the current contract can be extended for 2 years. Mr. Foglio provided a proposal to extend the contract for 2 years, so they have requested a 2-year extension. So the decision would be that we go back out to bid with the understanding that this contract expires on June 30th of this year. Or do we entertain this extension for 1 or 2 years?
Well, my 2 cents. I think that we have received an excellent service from Foglio. I think they've been responsive to our needs. They've done it at a fair cost. Local business employs local people, and I think sometimes you get what you pay for. And I think if you go out to bid and you get the lower bid, that doesn't mean that it's the person that's going to do the best job. From a public safety standpoint, I think having good winter roads that are taken care of are very important to citizens. So my opinion would be that we continue the contract for 2 years, because I think sometimes you pay a little bit more for a quality service and it's worth it.
I will second that. Mostly, I agree with what you said, but also you don't know. Here we know what we've got for 2 years. We know who we have and we know what the price is. You go back out for bid, economy could make some changes, things could happen, and you're paying more. So this is a known quality, and so I would second that.
I'd like to comment on this if I
Okay,
can.
go ahead.
While I agree with Tammy's assessment, I just want to make clear that when Mr. Edgerly was plowing the snow, we also, I think, enjoyed the same level of competency in their plowing. And the only reason that they probably weren't still didn't have the contract was because the specific language in that contract did not allow for an extension of contract services, and therefore it went out to bid, and Mr. Foglio's company won that bid. While I'm in agreement with Tammy that we probably should continue with the Foglio bid, I still would like it to have it out on the table that if we went out to bid and Mr. Edgerly were to apply, then certainly that's a known quantity as well. So I wouldn't want any aspersions cast in sort of a backdoor fashion towards that. So that's all I have on that.
David?
Well, I feel any increase, there's no question the job has been well done. But I think any increase above what is being paid requires to go back out to bid.
Yeah, the proposal, just so everybody is aware, and I think we walked through this a little bit last week during the discussion with Doug Jr., is for an increase. Currently, the rate per mile is $3,900. There is a $9,000 bump on that because of Old Elford Road. This revision would include that, from what I understand, and so we're talking to jump to $4,100 for the next fiscal year and $4,300, and this is per mile, for the year after that. I will add that if we go back to the 08-09 season, we did, there was a significant drop when we did go out to bid. Edgley took the contract for 2 years. We rebid it. There was another drop from his second year price of $4,000 a mile, and Cobleo was successful in bidding at $3,700 a mile, and then there's been an escalation over the 3 years since then. And to talk a little bit about what Gordon did bring up, there was no provision in the Edgley contract. Edgley did request an extension. That extension was denied by this board, and we went out to bid. So just so that we've got everything on the table, but we've gone from $3,800, $3,900 a mile, up to 4,000. We've went back to 3,700, jumped up to 39. This extension will be 4,100. So there is I'm not sure that I'm not sure when you extend a contract, if it's an increase, I'm not sure that you can qualify that as an extension, but that's
How much,
up for debate, I guess.
that $4,100 in 2013, 2014, that Old Alfred Road is a part of that $4,100?
That's the way I read the follow-up communications and clarification.
Yeah, and it
How
says
much-
includes Old Alford Road.
How much of that $4,100, okay, that changes things a little bit here in my mind. How much of that $4,100 is a part of the Old Alfred Road?
Well, all you gotta do is look at the balance, the total, David, in the far right-hand corner. With the Old Alford Road in this current year's contract, we're paying $247,576. The 4,100, proposed 4,100 would be up, not quite $11,000, but 10,000, 10,600, no, 10,800.
Okay, and out of that
Okay.
10.8 is the 9.4?
Well, the 9.4 is in the 247.
Yeah, but if it's an increase of not quite 10,000, it's really, the 99.9% of that is the $9,403 for Old Alfred Road.
Well, the Old Alfred Road's already in the 247. So, the 41 is for all 61 miles, basically, or 63 miles, I'm sorry, not just the 2, so.
You don't know how bids are gonna go, but, I mean, you also look here that the cost for 2013-14 is up 37 cents, $37, only $37 from the 2009-2010 Edgley contract too. So you're talking 3 years later, really just nudging beyond what was back in 2009-2010.
Well,
So it's not
like I said,
not a great raise.
when we were looking at rebidding, which we did in 2011, we went from, and we've added some mileage to this, which is now Old Waterboro, but we went from, you're right, $4,062 a mile, and we dropped to $3,700 because we put out the bid. I'm not saying that would happen again, but I'm not saying it wouldn't happen again either, but. And when you put it out to bid, you kind of open up the. You open the pool up basically a bit, but that's why you go out to bid. So,
Do we have the figures on how much the bid process cost us to go out to bid?
well, I mean, the bid specs are complete. They would be modified a bit to include everything that's now in the amended or the addendums that have been added in the past 3 years, right? So those would be now put into the language of the contract, but I'm not sure what it costs to go out to bid. It's certainly minimal as the advertising and whatnot, or the package, and we can certainly selectively select who we're gonna put it out to bid to. I mean, there's a number of ways that we can do that. The last time it went out was May 29th, 2008. So I'll take that back. That was the first time that it
2
went out.
years after that.
It was the first time that it went out, and then it's been amended since then. So it's the last bid that would have gone out would have been in 2010. May 7th, 2010, which was this packaging. And it includes the description of all of the roads and et cetera, et cetera. So. Anything else? I guess I'd entertain a motion.
Did you make a motion?
No, but I will.
Okay,
I would make a motion that we extend the contract with Foglio Inc. for 2 years.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 3-2. All right, that puts that to bed. Discuss vote on approval of the Massapequa Lions Club application for the State of Maine Games of Chance for the year 2013. I think the first one is sealed tickets, second one being Beano, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, first one is a Game of Chance, was a sealed ticket, the second one is Beano. So item 3 and item 4 really kind of go together.
Did we get the, what do I want to say? Usually the code enforcement goes over and the fire department goes over and just does a check of the facility to make sure everything is in compliance.
I didn't realize they needed that for these kinds of licenses, but I can have them do that, bring it back.
We always do a law enforcement check and
So I would make a motion, well, when do these expire? Oh, I would make a motion that we table this until that's done.
second.
Any further
I'm
discussion
sorry, I
on
didn't hear
table?
the motion.
Motion to table until we have.
Okay. Yep.
All those in favor? Opposed? Right, so let's bring it back next week. Is there any reason they can't get this done? I mean, we kind of own the building, right?
And I don't anticipate there'll be any problem, but we make everybody else go through that process. So.
And we ought to follow their own procedure.
Okay, discuss vote on our our meetings. I think there is a calendar in here. We had some discussion last week. As you know, we've got half a day holiday on the 24th, half a day holiday on the 31st. So we really need to make payroll or any AP prior to that. So and my suggestion is we schedule our 3 normal meetings, which we're in the first one now. We have 2 more weeks, and then we schedule at least a signing event on the 22nd and the 29th. And that could be as simple as somebody, 1 or 2 of us coming in to sign payroll
On a Saturday?
on a Friday. I'm sorry, 21st, 28th. And seeing as how the treasurer just walked in, I'll ask that question. If we drive time cards that have to be in here by a certain time on a Friday,
Noon is gonna cut me awful tight to get it done if nothing goes wrong. Nancy and I spoke about
Okay.
it.
but if,
AP is no problem, because Christina can get that to me early, but it's the payroll, and plus you got people, they're gonna be guesstimating, because you're cutting it off at Friday, and your fire department and your transfer station is Saturday and Sunday is included. But that's when you are right that it's gotta be done this Friday in order to get it paid to go through for.
well, the
Wednesday.
only other way to do it is that we come in here on the 26th.
But then everybody would have to have a live check,
Yeah, so
because you can't get direct deposit.
I guess I'm
It's your
to
call.
the point where, we drive everybody to get the payrolls in, and we come in,
And call you as soon as I get it ready to the point that it can be signed on Friday.
well, it's gotta be signed before the close of business on Friday. So
Right.
if
We
You
need
let
just
us-
one signature for
right,
payroll.
you let us know that, okay, they're ready by 4:10 Friday afternoon, somebody comes down here and signs, right?
Yes, sir.
So you wouldn't even need to
Right,
schedule
I
a
don't think we
signing
need
event?
this, right. Just,
And the
just
payroll
it's
to be
gonna
signed
drive,
Wednesday.
right. It's gonna drive you to say that you gotta have it done by Friday afternoon. It's gonna drive the department heads to say you have to have the hours in by noon on Friday.
So would we still have to come in for the other stuff?
Because the AP is,
AP, you still need 3 signatures to release it on
right,
that
but
Wednesday.
is there any reason that we have to do any, you really only have,
Well, you got 2 weeks that you'd be
Right.
looking at.
but is there any reason that you can't have the APs all done for the 18th?
I can put everything through that I have.
Okay.
For the 18th or the 21st?
No, the 18th would be the last meeting that
Oh,
we
our
had.
last meeting, okay, yeah.
And then they're gonna default into January. I mean, we could schedule something the 2nd of January and come in here and have, a small business meeting to sign off any AP that might be then, right? So the worst case is
On a
we,
Wednesday night,
Yeah.
2nd January?
Because the Tuesday's the first, the
Yeah,
holiday.
it's a holiday, okay.
so we could do that. That way, if there is any AP or any business that we have to conduct, we do it on the 2nd instead of the 1st. Be a very, very skinny meeting.
You wanna do that now or wait next week?
Let's wait until the 18th before we can post it and everything, but if everybody's amenable to that schedule, then that's what we'll do,
Thank you.
okay? Anything else on that? If not, we're gonna jump back. Where is your boss, Chris?
Executive session.
So, welcome,
I'll
stand-in.
go last.
Ron's standing. No, you
So-
can go now. We're all set. We're really done with our agenda.
We
other than-
know it'll be shorter with you, Chris, so go.
Pardon?
We know it'll be shorter with you.
I don't have a draft with me.
You must know it by heart.
I know 3 numbers.
Okay?
I think they were.
Oh, okay.
My notes are in there, but go ahead.
You want a copy or?
No.
So
Well, he's looking for that, and I think what Ron was here today.
Yep.
And met with the department heads, and going over procedures, and he came back with a list of handling the monies coming in, tightening things that he's seeing. And I know he said that he'd be back for a meeting. He missed one department, and I know that they still want to meet with that one department. And he had some notes, and I'm sure that he'll give it. And we're sorry for the stuff that's happened. We couldn't get it all together today.
The reason for those meetings was what? Just so that everybody understands?
Just cash flow, handling the cash checks.
Not because we're trying to find something, right?
No,
I mean, it's-
it was
I
just.
just want to make anybody that's tuned in and everything
Right.
else saying, oh my God, the auditor's meeting with the.
No,
department
it
heads,"
was
right?
more fiscal policy and procedures.
Okay,
And,
just put that out and make sure that everybody understands it.
yeah, it wasn't a special. First, let me apologize to everybody. You know, my fault, my bad, the public for causing a ruckus today. But the draft of the audit is available, and the Schedule 1 on page 34 is the schedule that I go by, you know, and it's the budget to actual, and what you had planned on doing, and what you actually ended up doing, and where you ended the year. And the first column's the original budget, and then there's adjustments that you made for your final budget, and then the third column is your actual numbers. And everybody wants to know what the fund balance is, the budgetary fund balance. And your budget, you had planned on $2.1 million of a fund balance was your original budget. You used some of your fund balance during the year, so you had planned on ending the fund balance at 2.071. You actually ended the year at 2.6. So I think the budget to actual is a pretty good number and how you got to where you were as of June 30th. There was a couple of departments that were overdrafted. Nancy and I have been working on those and why they were and what adjustments need to be done. And the only two we have left is the town clerk and the animal control. There's a couple of revenues that might have been missed or might have been misposted or need to move around and should. And then there was another $6 one that I'll take care of. You know,
Yeah,
we
because I
didn't-
think when you came in, even before the end of the year, we kind of looked at, okay, what has to happen so that we don't,
Right.
right? I mean, even though we know we're gonna end the year in the black,
Yeah.
you know, we shuffled and voted to allow some monies from one account to cover those shortages in the other account. So I think that was the surprise was, well, why would any of them show as being overdrafted?
Well, I think that meeting was the 12th of June.
Yep,
And I think you still have more payrolls to
Yep.
go.
yep,
And then you had an accrued payroll. And June 30th this year was on a Saturday. So all the payroll was in. Compared to last year, there was only 5 out of the 7 days ended up being in that last payroll. So you had 52.334 weeks of payroll.
so I'm gonna ask this question again. I've gotta ask you every year. We always accrue the expenses. Do we accrue the revenues that come in that,
And
in July that really were June revenues?
it depends on which revenues you're talking about.
Okay,
Recreation, we do not.
okay,
Because recreation, those revenues are for fiscal year 13.
Okay. But if we are owed money from the state
Yes,
and it
for
comes.
services rendered by June. I hate interrupting you.
No, that's fine. I think
Yeah.
you just answered my question.
Yeah,
So like,
Are you thinking
general
revenue sharing?
assistance,
Okay,
revenue
thank you.
sharing, because like we get that payment.
pretty much.
But say that we have GA stuff that's owed to us, that we spent the money in May, right? Those revenues didn't get reimbursed until July 4th. Okay,
Correct.
It wouldn't be July 4th, but July 6th.
Yeah,
That's really a fiscal year 12
it
revenue.
is. It is. The problem you have with GA, for instance, that you've budgeted certain revenues to come in.
Yep.
So you've already included those revenues. So if we turn to page 35, I think it was.
No copy.
I'll look through your notes.
Don't feel bad.
36, which is the budgeted revenues. This is your revenue schedule.
Yep.
So your general assistance money is about a third of the way down.
Yep.
You had budgeted $51,500 to come in.
Yep.
You've only collected 37,800.
So even looking at something that might have been accrued in July, we still have not received that payment.
Right, but it would not improve the overdraft because the overdraft is based on the expense side.
Yep.
Now, to use the example, this year it was the highway, one of the highways, the CDBG money, that you originally budgeted $70,000, but then realized, hey, wait a second, we're getting more money for that. So you had a special town meeting where you increased the budget for that highway by $11,000.
Yep.
So you actually increased your budget, what you were going to take in and what you were going to spend. The question I think you're asking is if we receive more revenue in July, does that help the GA overdraft?
Well, I
And
think.
the answer to that is no.
Yeah, but what I'm asking, I think, is because the GA, now, the GA is tough because it's a moving target, right? I mean, we know that we establish a budget based on an estimated revenue, right? A reimbursement rate,
Correct.
right? There's X amount of dollars of taxation,
Yep.
and then there's, the rest of it is based on monies that come in from the state, right?
Correct.
We meet the hurdle rate, they start,
Tier 1, yeah.
you're right, they start funding at 50% and
Yep.
whatever. And I guess my concern is that if on the revenue side, and I guess I'm looking at, I know it, on paper, if you expend more than what was budgeted, okay, on the expense side, that shows as an overdraft. General assistance, that happens, state
Yes.
law allows that to happen.
Yes.
But on the revenue side, I guess more importantly is that, and I think we all recognize that we're gonna get hit that, okay, GA was overdrawn. Not a lot we can do about
Yeah.
that, right? It happens. But did we budget correctly? In other words, we did all the right things, we budgeted correctly, and because revenue might have been late coming from the state by 10 days or 12 days, right? It at least fixes or at least lessens the revenue shortfall, right? Because it is a revenue that came from 2012.
It shortens your revenue shortfall, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I realize it's not gonna fix the other,
The
bottom.
expense side.
I don't expect it to do
Okay.
that. I just wanna make sure that if we're gonna, because we always look at, here are the little over expenditures,
Right.
right? Here are the under revenue collections,
Yeah.
right, that we budgeted, right? I just wanna make sure that we treat those equally.
They both hit your bottom line the same way.
Good, okay.
Yeah. So if you over budget some revenue and correspondingly over budget that department, and that department overspends, as well as the revenue is short, that's 2 bites of that apple,
Understand.
So that's
And that's where we were a few years ago with Parks and Rec, right?
correct.
Right?
Yeah.
We overestimated revenues, and we spent to that revenue over that
Exactly.
revenue level, and then we went back and fixed that
Yeah,
at a special town meeting, but,
correct.
all right. I think I'm okay.
You got that?
So Schedule A, as you call it, and why do you keep changing them every year?
They never change.
Don't tell me.
The page is mine.
Oh. So if we really look at the fund balance,
Everybody asks, where do we stand?
okay,
You know, what's our fund balance? MMA says, depending on the tax base, you need 30, 60, 90 days of undesignated funds. I think you have a pretty stable tax base. You don't have a paper mill, you don't have a nuclear power plant, where if they don't pay their taxes, you guys are short money, you know? So I think you can be in the 45 to 60 day for undesignated funds, because you got a pretty stable tax base. You know, you're not dependent on one or a group of taxpayers that really could hurt you if they didn't pay their taxes. Maine Yankee, you know, J paper, you know, stuff like that. Those towns need a bigger undesignated fund balance. So I would say 120 days for them. So everybody asks, what's our fund balance? It's what everybody knows. And I think you're about 50 days, so it might be 60. So I think you're in a good position, you know. I think your budget had worked out to be about 40 days, 41 days, and you're actually at 50 days. So depending on what you plan to do and where you ended up, you come in the black, as you call it.
On the increase in the fund balance, how much of that was on the revenue side, and how much of that was that we were conservative in our expenditures?
Dennis has my report.
What schedule?
You had Schedule A.
Not statement A, schedule.
No, Schedule
God,
34.
you guys are awful. All right. Schedule 1.
Oh, Schedule 1, yeah.
See?
Nope.
I know they change
Of
it.
course, they never change.
No, there's a Schedule A. Oh, there it is. So here's your revenue.
Yep.
You know, original budget adjustments, final budget, actual, and this is your variance, good or bad revenue.
So $107.
107 was
Same.
attributed to the revenue coming in above.
And the expenses are on the next page, right? Expenditures?
Well, the detail is, I'll go to statement, to Schedule 1, that this is your expenses. And original budget, final, actual. So there's 107 again. So 457 was your positive under.
Out of 457 was the overlay.
Yeah,
Of
Yeah.
332.
okay, yeah. There you go.
So if you take the,
So a couple $100,000 other than the overlay where you,
right, so if you were less, if the underspend, right, was less than the overlay, then you'd say, we actually spent more in the budget, the
yeah,
actual budget. The overlay is always kind of off on the top of that, right? But
No, I think you added 100,000 worth of savings.
Yeah.
The 450 saving and expenses, if we take the 333 away.
Right.
You got an extra 100.
Right. Right.
so how about $100,000 underspent on last year's
Right,
budget?
on the actual day-to-day budget, on line item
Yeah.
budgets, right? You're right, we were about $100,000 under, right? And we over-collected by 100. So when you get the revenue, when you got the overlay of 332 and that other 200, that's why we jumped. That's why we jumped where we did.
Our
with
total
the-
budget last year was what,
Five-
not including school, and
Well, with the school, it was 13.
but
No,
Take 9 out of that.
you gotta-
I'm sorry.
is it about 4 million?
Yeah.
Okay, so 100,000 out of 4 million, it's pretty. Okay.
So we over-collected, we underspent, and we had the overlay. So we grew the fund balance by 565,000.
So we were within 2%, I think, of the budget as far as expenditures. Okay. Yeah.
So now Schedule B is page 37 and 38. This is more of a breakdown of your expenses in a little more detail. You know, this is not only these departments or classifications line up with these.
Yep.
So this just brings general government is made up of that. Here's all that.
Looks good.
So as an example, Schedule 1 shows intergovernmental revenues. And when you look at intergovernmental revenues on Schedule A, that shows its state revenue sharing, homestead reimbursement, highway block grant, FEMA, tree growth, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct. So there's that.
So the numbers, ultimately the numbers are bottom line
There's,
numbers.
as you start in the report, there's big numbers, the summary numbers, and as you go towards the back of the report, we break them down into
Right. So
more detail.
So the question, the other question that I have is that under property tax, right? You guys do some funkiness with, you know, I mean, we have a tax commitment. We know we didn't collect all of those taxes, right?
Correct.
We might be 3 or 4% short
Correct.
by the end of the close of the year. However, all of those taxes that were owed to us in the previous year, right? Those are collected, so I mean, ultimately, but you guys crank in some bad debt scenario, right?
Well, we call it deferred tax revenue.
Right, okay. So it shows like we committed 8.9 million, 974 million in property taxes, and we brought in 18,000 less than that, 18.5.
Well, I believe some of that number includes supplementals and abatements.
Understand,
So
right?
some of that 18
But
is,
you also.
we make an adjustment for deferred taxes.
So it's not as simple as this is everything that was collected and.
No, we put some magic fairy dust.
Yeah,
in there,
you know.
And if I remember looking at that too, we were pretty close on the excise tax, and projecting excise taxes. We were
Yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah, Schedule 1 is where all the revenues
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, because when we looked at, when you put in everything for excise taxes, it was pretty close.
Now, last year when I gave the Board of Selectmen speech at the town meeting, I quoted your firm as saying that our finances as a town were rock solid, because that's what you had told us. Is that still the same classification in your opinion? Because I would hate to have the new chair go and say that we're operating on the Tinkerbell theory now, where we've spread fairy dust on things.
Yeah, no, I think you're in a good position. You know, I think you're rock solid. You got a good fund balance. You got a healthy fund balance. You know, I think your year-to-year budgeted operations are pretty stable. You know, and now if I would make any suggestion is maybe start projecting out. Maybe let's start building our reserves back up. You know, that 4 or 5 years ago, the fire truck reserves and some of these reserves were paying for the leases of the ambulance and the fire truck, and it chewed into that reserve. That's what the reserve's for, to pay for the fire truck and the ambulance. But it brought that balance down, and there hasn't been any activity in there, any additions to those reserves.
Yeah, but there's an argument both ways there too, Bruce, right? There's one thing to say, you know, we're gonna raise expenditures, all right, that ultimately will be used to finance, right,
Yeah.
certain items in the future, versus just buying those units. And yeah, I mean, one way or the other, it's all tax money, right? The only way you can build a reserve is to put tax money in.
Correct.
Right? So.
And if you want to pay, you know, prepay for that expense, that's the reserve. If you want to pay for some loan payment or bond payment, then you get the fire truck first and pay for it later.
Yeah, because I think the concern with a lot of taxpayers is, it's nice that the town's got this big fund balance, but you continue to raise my taxes, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, we say the same thing to RSU 57. It's like that you had this surplus, but, you know, you passed those taxes, you know,
Yeah.
we're paying you more than what we should have,
Right.
right? So, that's a hairy,
Yeah.
or
Slippery slope.
slippery slope.
But maybe you can look into your budget. You know, maybe the overlay doesn't need to be 333. Maybe it needs to be, you know, whatever's unexpended out of overlay to put half into a reserve.
Yep.
You know, but it's going to your fund balance, and whether it's in your undesignated fund balance or it's in some fire truck reserve, it's the same fund balance. You know, the reserves are more dedicated, but
Yeah.
more restricted.
You know, I'd rather overtax a little bit and take some of the political heat than undertax and make the front page of the paper.
Been there, done that, huh?
Well, I think you do a good job of keeping the tax rate and the mill rate pretty steady and flat. It's the up and downs that
Yeah.
really, you know, drive the hate and discontent.
Yeah, I mean, even, we were up more than what any of us would have liked to have this year, but I think that was explainable with the money that we had to put into roads and some other projects that, I mean, you only can delay so long, right? So. Okay, so where do we stand with, you working out some things with Nancy and
There was 6 or
Julie
7
and-
overdrafts that we
Okay.
were working on, and I got rid of 4 of them, so there's 2 more to do.
So do we, you guys wanna act on this, or do you wanna wait and see a revised audit for next week and put it on?
What are we talking, what's the timeline of working out those overdrafts?
I can get you another one by next Tuesday.
I'm
Wait
just,
till
you know,
next
maybe we
Tuesday.
ought to wait to
So we're bringing, I mean,
approve
we're talking about,
The bottom line is not gonna change.
Okay.
You know, I can't change the bottom line. You know, that, what it is what it is.
but
know.
we're talking about very little, yeah, right?
$12,000?
Yeah.
6, 8.
Alright, so
Yeah.
why don't we'll put it on next week's agenda and, just to vote for them. And if you can get us something so that we can have it for Tuesday night, then
Yeah.
we'll put it to a vote.
Great.
Alright? Thank you, I understand you spent some time in your vehicle, I hope you had,
Oh, God.
had some,
Appreciate it again, and
good
apologize.
music and,
Yeah.
Sometimes those things just can't, it's not like you planned on getting stuck in accident traffic.
No, it wasn't, and then the fog, and then,
Thanks for coming.
appreciate your patience.
okay. Thanks, Chris. Thanks,
You're welcome.
Julie. Thanks, Julie, for sticking around.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Okay. Anything else, folks? Old business, discuss plans for the employee family holiday party. We're all set, right? We'll just bring it back next week in case there's any open issues. Warrants and bills for payroll. I entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Minutes of November 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Pending decisions, same, just boards and committees. Quickly, Old Home Days and Community Garden, looking for more members. Fair Hearing Committee, we need 2. Zoning Board of Appeals, need 1. Finance Committee, we need 1. Planning Board, we need 1. Parks and Rec, 4. Conservation Commission, 1. Hiring Panel, 4. Economic Development, 7, and Public Safety Committee, 5. Did the EDC or the Public Safety Committee change in the charter at all? Does the charter now address those that,
I think the public
They're
safety
five.
Yeah,
committee
public
came
safety
out.
went down from 7 to 5.
okay,
I think in the charter change, it takes effect July 1, there's no more public safety
well,
committee.
this, whatever, I think the words are that we can have any committee we want.
Yeah,
Okay, but it is 5, right?
Right.
So the EDC, unless we change that ordinance, stays at 7. Okay, week's action list, I think other than just follow up with, if you would, Christina, that Nancy and Julie put the word out that absolutely payroll for both the week of the 17th and the week of the week of the 17th and the week of the 24th have to be in no later than noon on the 21st and the 28th, respectively. Discussion of agenda items. I guess I would propose that we put, maybe we do it in one agenda item, but at least 2 issues. We need to add to the agenda of at least establishing an ad hoc committee as something for the transition of what the new budget committee is going to look like on July 1st, okay, to implement the charter changes. And I think we need to then also have, start to talk about establishing a search committee to look for a candidate for the revised job of town administrator. But we at least ought to put those on the agenda so we at least start some dialogue of how we're going to handle that. Anything else?
We'll probably start seeing, with the budget season coming up, requests from the outside agencies for funding. And I know last year we had kind of talked about when we were getting those requests, requiring them to give us a copy of their annual report to include their budget. So I'm thinking we should probably draft up some kind of a form letter, so as those requests are coming in, if that information isn't included, Christina could just then automatically send that letter out to them saying, here's what we require in order to consider your budget request. So I think, maybe have a conversation about that.
Okay.
I'd suggest sending out a general notice regarding budget items so that we don't run into another Lake Arrowhead situation where there's a group contemplating asking for something, but they wait till the 11th hour to do it, and then,
I say they wait, they lose.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you're right, but I guess the question is that we traditionally, that group that is not, it's not Lake Arrowhead Community, it's Lake Arrowhead Conservation.
Commission.
They've always come in late asking for $3,000 to help with milfoil. Do we have a request from them?
I'm not sure Nancy's been collecting those
Okay.
things.
If not, we ought to say, are you coming back this year for more money? If you are, we need your request like by Friday. And they might have already submitted it, but I think he went through that once. But to Dave's point, I'm not sure that we should go trolling, right, for,
no, but I hate trying to
yeah.
jump through hoops at the last minute that we don't have to.
Yeah.
We could pre-plan.
And I think you did all have a copy from Scott Davis on the installation of the fire hydrants.
And the other thing, could we start looking at a schedule for budget meetings? I know it'll happen after the holidays, but it'd be nice to kind of plan ahead so we can put it on our calendars.
Anything else?
I'd like us to start thinking and brainstorming with the public maybe on getting this economic development committee going.
Okay.
Also, Dennis, is there any grants out there or money for this push that's coming down the road for food waste processing? I'm thinking if there is, let's get the school onto it.
There, I think the Ecomaine is kind of trying to slowly get into that because it's going to would affect every hot lunch program in Ecomaine. So I know that they are looking at what are the next steps with food waste. So, so I think, we can go out and look, David, but I think we need to kind of like take their lead. I mean, we're part of that organization, so. else, folks? Items needing signature, warrants and bills for payroll, minutes of November 27th meeting. We've deferred the Mass-Music Lions Club, we're coming back next week, right? And also with the audit report. Reminders, York County Community Action, fuel assistance will be here tomorrow 9 to 4. You must have an appointment. And if you need an appointment, call 324-5762. Planning Board meeting tomorrow night, 7 p.m. here in this room. Conservation Commission, 5 p.m. at the Old Town Hall on Thursday evening. Cribbage Tournament Saturday at 8:30, the Old Town Hall. We're back here next week at 6 p.m. Contract Deputy Fire Department 2020 Master Planning Committee all meeting.
Couple things to add to the schedule.
Yep.
This Wednesday, tomorrow night, at the York County Courthouse is the York County Budget Committee. Those meetings are all open to the public. And the Budget Committee is also meeting on Saturday, December 8th, at the Alfred Town Hall.
Okay.
I would say to staff and volunteers on the 14th, we have the dinner at the fire station. Please tell Christina that the number of people that you're bringing. So it's families invited, right? But we need to know that, so we're going to be out buying food the next week or so we need to plan. So let her know.
Okay. Road Review Committee, December 12th, 6 p.m. Old Town Hall. Finance Committee, 7 p.m. Thursday, December 13th. 12 Town Group will be meeting this month. 6:30 on December 17th, Monday night here. Transfer Station Committee has pulled their meeting in a week and will be meeting December 17th at 6:30 p.m. at the Old Town Hall. And then 2 weeks from tonight, the last business meeting this month for the board will be at 6 p.m. in this room. Anything that I missed? Sensing no additions, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Good night.